Good evening from Bangkok. It's Sunday, July 18. Welcome to the Muay Thai Weekend Review from Siam Fight News, where we'll be covering all things Muay Thai that happened this week here in the Kingdom of Thailand and covering some events that happened around the world in the sport of Muay Thai. This week we're going to touch on a little bit of kickboxing with the announcement of that scintillating matchup between Oscan and Sidichai at the end of the month on One Championship. But first we'll talk about the only elite Muay Thai action, in fact, the only Muay Thai action that happened here in the Kingdom this week was the Saturday Omnoy Stadium fights. And of course, right now they're not being held at Omnoy Stadium due to the restrictions in the province where Omnoy Stadium is. They have moved to a different province, Chonburi province, at the Fangjiang Stadium, owned by the Phumpan Muang Consortium. And of course, Phumpan Muang Consortium, one of the most influential consortiums of business and other people in Chonburi province. So fantastic endeavour for them to be able to get the fights there. Let's see if they'll be able to held next week though, because Chonburi province now, as of Tuesday, will go in as a dark zone, which means the restrictions will get even greater. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not next week they'll be allowed to host their event. Yesterday's show, the main event, well, the fight to watch yesterday wasn't the main event. The fight to watch was the Omnoy Stadium minimum weight 100 pounds title fight between the champion Duan 99 Sorjor Tong Prajin and Pet Tuanpe Chor Hepayak. Duan, of course, was the champion going into the fight yesterday. They were 1-1. Their most recent fight, Duan won the championship, but yesterday was Pet Tuanpe's day. He was on fire. He was on form. He snuffed out the attacks of Duan 99 and he took the championship. Just a little bit of information in terms of Omnoy. Omnoy has the lowest weight division. Traditionally, minimum weight are mini flyweight, 105 pounds. So Lumpini and Rajadamnern Stadium follow that trajectory. Channel 7, their lowest weight division, they have 105 pounds, but their lowest weight division is 102, which they class as the minimum weight. But Omnoy goes one lower and they have 100 pounds weight division, of course, which then they call minimum weight. So congratulations to Pet Tuanpe Chorhepayak for becoming the new Omnoy Stadium minimum weight champion. And of course, he has just put himself on the market because Chorhepayak gym is closing down. And most of the fighters have left the gym. Pet Tuanpe was training at the gym in the build up to this fight and training at another gym as well. But now he's really put himself in the market for a transfer once his stock has gone up, I'll put it this way, in terms of a transfer market. Yesterday's main event was another cracking fight between, it was over in the second round. It was a good fight up until that point. Chai Chan Sit Kao Papon was victorious over Pet Samwan or Prasert in the main event. He stopped him via second round leg kicks. It was an interesting fight, entertaining fight up until that. Omnoy Stadium again, I'll call it, normally it's at Omnoy Stadium, but it's called the SukJaoMuaythai. It's a collaboration of promoters. There are 3 promoters in the group, and then there's a team of sponsors behind the group. That's why they're called collaboratively SukJaoMuaythai. Of course, it's held every Saturday at 12:20. As I said, let's see if it can go ahead next week or not, due to the tighter restrictions. And on those restrictions, the government announced today here in Thailand that restrictions will get even greater in 3 new provinces close to Bangkok, and Chonburi, where those fights are held, has been announced part of that, so it'll be interesting. Hopefully they can go ahead next week because it's the only thing Muay Thai fans in the kingdom have to look forward to right now. Just the way things are. That was it in Thailand this week. In Australia, there was a very good fight last night for the main event for the Infliction Fight Series on the Gold Coast. Chad Collins, of course, you must be living under a rock the last 5 years if you don't know who the Shark is. Made a name for himself in Thailand, made a name for himself around the world. Great ambassador for the sport. And he came back strong last night in a comeback fight against a really tough opponent. And one of the best super lightweights, but he's not a super lightweight anymore. He's a welterweight now. Ramesh Habib from Melbourne, and took the win. And congratulations to the Shark. He's back on track. Last night in Brussels, the king of the Muay Thai middleweights in the modern contemporary era, Youssef Boughanem, he faced off against Danish fighter Niclas Larsen. Niclas took the fight on about a week's notice because Liam Nolan, the original opponent for Youssef, had to pull out due to travel restrictions. Niclas stepped up to the plate. You got to give him credit. I watched the fight live. He gave a fantastic showing. Just not enough for Youssef. He's incredibly hard to defeat. Anyone that is, obviously I've never fought him, but I have trained with him. And Youssef, just, oh my God, he's just incredible. Just the tricks and everything he plays. It's just, he's fantastic. And he took home a unanimous points decision. Judge 1 and 2 was 49-47. Judge 3 had it wider, 50-45. I had it a little bit closer myself. I gave a round to Niclas, but nonetheless, Youssef was the winner, and congratulations to him. More importantly, he took home, not only did he make another defense of his WBC Muay Thai world title, but he took home the WBC Muay Thai diamond belt, which he was only the 7th fighter in the history of that organization to claim a WBC diamond belt. Youssef, we'll see what's next for him. Maybe he'll get to fight Liam Nolan later in the year, or we'll see. That's up to those guys. The talk of the town this week, outside of literally great to see one championship make an announcement of their return, and so excited about these 2 fights. No disrespect, I'm sure there are plenty of mixed martial art fans, and it's a fantastic sport for the fans who watch it. But for me and for many other Muay Thai aficionados, and even kickboxing fans and Muay Thai aficionados will be glued to it because Sidichai was a Muay Thai superstar. But the main event, Sam A versus Prajanchai. But before I start about this fight, I find it fascinating to read a lot of fans on social media, and a lot of them on the social media comments on Sion Fight News, saying it's old school versus new school. Prajanchai is new school, and I just find it incredible. I mean, he has been on the elite fight circuit since about 2007, 2008. I remember him first coming onto the circuit around 2008, maybe 2009. So he's been on the circuit for more than a decade, 11, 12 years. And he was one of the finest minimum weights, one of the finest. He moved up through the way. He almost like Panpayak and Sangmani, the way he obviously didn't win as many titles as either of those moving up through the weights. But he won enough titles. He was a champion at Rajadamnern at flyweight, minimum weight. He won a Lumpini belt at bantamweight, and he won a Lumpini belt recently again last year at super bantamweight. And for me, and for a lot of the Muay Thai aficionados and experts in Thailand, he is the number 1 undisputed super bantamweight in Thailand. He's not a number 1 featherweight. There's a lot of people are going, no, he's fantastic at 122, 123, 124, even 125. But when he goes up to if he had to go to 126 and fight against a guy who's coming down from 130, 131 down to 126, especially the higher end upper echelon super featherweight fighters, that could possibly come down to 126, 27. But for him, his perfect weight division is 122 all the way to 125. And this is going to be a fascinating matchup with Sam A. Incredible work by One Championship. We need this. We all need this. It's going to be a 5-round fight, which makes it even better. No 3-rounders. It's going to have proper gloves, not the MMA style gloves. Nothing against them, but this is Muay Thai, so I prefer to see the proper gloves for us anyhow. Prajanchai, last few fights, he beat Ranachai recently at Channel 7 back in March. He beat Compet. He lost to Compet at World Siam Stadium. And let's turn our attention to Sam A. This fight is going to be scintillating. Sam A, I believe, since probably the last 6 or 7 years, has only had 1 loss. Of course, that was to Jonathan Hagerty on One Championship, where he lost the one flyweight championship. My God, when you think back to the career he had it here in the stadiums here, it was a privilege. I must admit, it was a privilege to watch him. I was lucky enough from around 2004 onwards, I really got to know who he was, and just, it was incredible to watch him, and amazing athlete, and a professional. I used to love going to the stadiums in the morning to watch these guys how they operate for the weigh-ins, especially at the old Lumpini Stadium. He was a consummate professional and another master of his craft. So this is going to be a scintillating matchup. For me personally, I think the disruption, the way that Prejan Chai sets up his attacks by using disruption, he disrupts the attacks of the opponent. I think his freshness will be the disruption will be the key to his victory in this fight against Sam A. I'm not saying he'll win. I'm saying that would be the key to his victory. I would even dare, and I don't care who you are or who you support. This fight is 50-50. Seriously, this fight is 50-50 for me, and I hope we all have a fantastic fight. And credit to One Championship, the competition team, and everyone in Singapore for getting this fight done. Don't forget that is on Friday, July 30th, and it's on at 7:30 p.m. Thai time. Of course, you can watch it as usual on the One Championship Super app and the One Championship YouTube channel. Going to turn last topic of conversation tonight is the kickboxing fight set for One Championship on the same card. Sidichai Sitsongpinong versus Taefun Özkan. Now, we have two of the finest super welterweights. Obviously, Taefun is a natural kickboxer. Sidichai is a natural Muay Thai fighter who adapted incredibly to the sport of kickboxing under the Glory banner, and what he did for everything in Glory was incredible. Hence the reason One Championship went after him, and after all those protracted circumstances, they were able to sign him. I'm looking forward to that fight. I do enjoy a good kickboxing fight between guys like this, high echelons, superstars. Özkan has not lost a fight since probably 2017 in Fusion when he lost against Yonhe Risco, and he avenged that fight in 2 years later. He's the real deal at 69, 70 kilos. He's a tough operator. Sidichai, of course, we all know that he made his debut on One Championship last year against Superbon. It was a stale fight in the sense that neither fighter really grasped the fight, and it was only a 3-round encounter. And I think neither fighter took the initiative in the sense that, yes, Superbon won, absolutely, but neither fighter. I think Sidichai will be a different animal in this fight because now he realizes those 3-round fights, they come and go so quick. Pun intended, 9 minutes, it's done. So let's see. I think that's a cracking fight. I would have to say the odds slightly favor Özkan in the sense that he has been fighting kickboxing his entire career, just from that sense. But from the sense of the way he's equipped, Sidichai is the favorite. But again, I'm not a kickboxing expert, but I'm looking forward to that fight, and best of luck to both combatants. But again, well done, One Championship. We'll all be looking forward to that. That's in Singapore, and hopefully they'll be announcing some big fights as well for the rest of the Battleground series. And they'll probably, obviously, I imagine they'll be copying the same model where they've been recording 3 shows on one night and then tape delayed. Anyway, let's see about that. We're all delighted to see One Championship back. Sam A versus Prejan Chai headlines it Friday, July 30th, live from Singapore. And the Battle of Thailand is going to be a sizzler. And Sidichai versus Taefun Özkan is another appetizer. Well, so for some it's a fantastic main event as well, but the main one is Sam A versus Prejan Chai. That's it. Thank you for joining. We've got nothing else to talk about tonight. Join me next week. Hopefully we'll have some more things to talk about, and thank you very much.